Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, my entitled neighbor insisted on parking in my driveway to mess with me. Even after repeatedly warning him, he did not stop. He then ended up towing my own car from my private property and ended up with a felony. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the story. So I have been a car fanatic since I was a kid. There are so many different models and designs that I've learned about and studied over the years, and I have slowly built up a small collection of my favorites. I won't go into details as to not bore anyone, but I have 5 cars currently and keep 2 of them in my garage and 1 in the driveway, and the other 2 I keep in a storage facility but switch them out with the others on occasion. My neighbor Adam was interested in my cars when I first moved in, and we shared a variety of discussions regarding classic cars and whatever vehicles we dream of owning in the future. I enjoyed having these conversations with him whenever I was doing some work in the front yard or getting in my car to head to the store. One day, unfortunately, it all changed. We ran into each other when I left for work one morning and he asked me how many cars I own. I told him I have 5 and his face fell a bit. I assumed he was a little jealous, the way many people are when they hear about my cars, but it was obviously more than that. He went quiet and refused to fully acknowledge me, so I waved goodbye to head to work. From that moment on, he began to behave rudely towards me and made various attempts to negatively impact my life. He started bugging me about the fact that my property was bigger than his, something that may have been true, but there was not anything I could do about it. At first I could not figure out what he wanted from me until he told me point blank that he wanted to park in my driveway. I told him no, which only pissed him off further. He lives with his wife and adult son, so he often has to park on the street further away from his house and walk a distance to his car when he leaves for work. He brought this up with me as if I would take pity on him and let him use my property because of that. However, it's not my problem that he doesn't have space to park on his own property. He had a habit of taking things from my mailbox just to mess with me. He would remove a bill and only put it back when it was almost too late to pay it. I only know this because I caught him doing it once, which stopped it from occurring in the future, but did not improve our relationship otherwise. If he had kept going and I had missed an electric bill or something, I would have been forced into a frustrating position. I woke up one day to find one of my tires had been slashed, which I assume was Adam's handiwork. Although I don't have any evidence to support this, I believe his goal was to either make me move out or pressure me into letting him use my space. However, I refused to cave in to his demands. Another thing he loved to do was bug me anytime I was in my backyard. Whenever I spent the evening in the back relaxing with a beer, he would decide he wanted to do the same. However, he would play music over a speaker incredibly loud until I was forced to go inside just to get away from it. If I asked him to turn it down, he would just refuse, saying it was a free country and he could play whatever he wanted. I almost thought about doing the same thing to him just to get revenge, but I felt so bad for other people in the neighborhood who wanted to spend a warm summer evening decompressing outside, so I never did it. This all came to a head when I left to go on a work trip for a week. I took one of the cars I had in storage and left one in my driveway. I parked it in the middle so that someone like my neighbor would not be able to park their car there as well. The trip went well and I made a few new connections that I knew would pay off in the future when it came to my career. I arrived home exhausted and looking forward to spending a quiet night relaxing in my own home, but when I went to park on the street, I noticed that my driveway was empty. I was confused and thought for a moment that my car had been stolen until I remembered Adam. I could not rule out that he had done something stupid while I was away, so I brought my suitcases inside and walked up to his door. He did not answer immediately and was likely hoping I would give up and go home, but I persistently knocked on his door until his wife answered. She asked what I needed and I explained that I would like to speak to Adam. She then let me in and I did everything in my power to keep my cool as I asked if he knew what happened to my car. He calmly responded that he had it towed because it was in the way. I was speechless and stated the obvious, which was that I had parked on my own property, so it could not have been in the way. I guess part of me hoped that I had left the parking brake off and my car had rolled into the street, so there was no other option besides towing it. But no, he called a tow company because he felt he had a right to use my driveway. His poor wife was apologetic and told me she had no idea and thought I had given Adam permission to park in my driveway. I then left and got my thoughts together as I debated what to do next. I ultimately went to bed since it was nearly midnight and I'd had a long week with very little rest. The next morning I called the police station and they helped me locate where my car had been taken to, so I went with a buddy of mine to go pick it up. It was then that I found out my car had been towed mere hours after I had left, and the tow company had been under the impression that my neighbor owned my property and was reporting an abandoned vehicle in his driveway. They apologized to me even though it was not their fault, and I sighed when I saw the amount I had to pay. They charge a set amount to hold your car, and that amount increases every day until you come pick it up, which meant I had a substantial fee racked up. With my car back in my possession, I focused on what I could do to get back at Adam. The obvious solution, and the one I went with, was to go back to the police and explain the situation, in hopes that some part of what he did was against the law. The officers I spoke to saw what Adam did as trespassing, as he removed the vehicle from my private property unlawfully, and he ended up getting charged with a felony. I also learned that he had a stack of unpaid parking tickets that the cops were eager to speak with him about. It was not a very smart idea to get on my bad side when he was already skirting the law to some degree. However, I never really thought that he was intelligent to begin with. The last I heard, he had to sell his car in order to pay off all the traffic tickets and has to rely on either his son or his wife to get around, including needing them to drive him to work every day. That's what he gets for messing with my cars. And yeah, Ripe Stars, if you ever had any parking disputes with your neighbors, then I would love to hear about them in the comments. And while you're at it, I would very much appreciate it if you could also post some star emojis in the comments and maybe even like the video if you wanna support me. Thank you so much. The next one is another pro-revenge story. So this happened about 10 years ago. I used to work for a technology company in a government incubator. It was a building that helped startup companies by offering very cheap rent. One of the companies was an animation company. The owner was a complete douchebag. Whenever you would run into him, he was a complete dick. Anyone that knew him hated him. It was a small company, only 4 to 5 staff members for the first couple of months. Honestly, I don't even know how he has survived that long. The animators were terrible. And by terrible, I mean, what the hell did I just watch terrible? But this guy was an amazing salesman. He managed to sell himself and his company to a hip-hop group in California. Being from a fairly small city in Canada, Halifax, this was a big deal. It made the business sections in the newspapers, and he even won an award for top 50 CEOs in the region. The new contract landed him millions of dollars with around 1.6 million up front. However, he did not have enough staff to take on this new animated miniseries. He immediately hired approximately 20 additional animators. All of them naive students right out of college. After a couple of weeks, his new staff still was not being paid. I knew a couple of people that worked there, including one of the original 5 who was receiving a small paycheck, and asked her what was the deal. She told me that he said he did not have any money and that the money was coming soon. He somehow convinced most of the animators to continue working for free. He insisted that if they stuck around they would all become rich and it would make all their personal portfolios look amazing. Considering that most of these kids had no experience, they did not quit. Once I found out about this, his claim of having no money, I contacted a local magazine. It is a political magazine that likes to report on businesses and politicians that are corrupt. They emailed me back and I told them everything I knew about this animation company and what the owner was doing. Well, the magazine did some digging and published an article about the owner. After their investigation, they had learned that the CEO had in fact received 1.6 million upfront for the project. Instead of investing it into the company though, he spent it all on himself, including a new home valued over 500k, new cars, etc. You can only imagine what happened next. Pretty much every employee quit the day after the article ran. The group from California sued him shortly afterwards because they invested that money and got nothing back. The CEO was then taken to court. He was sued by 7 of his previous employees, $31,000 plus awarded to each employee. He lost his home, his car, and was now seen as a joke in the industry. After all this, he moved to a different province, but things got even worse. he had to file for bankruptcy claiming $248,000 in liabilities. One of my ex-employees recently got a job at the same magazine. I asked him if he could look through their archives to see if the information I had leaked to them is what caused their investigations. And sure enough, it all started because of my email correspondence with their editor. And the next one is titled Petty-ish Revenge. Years ago, when my husband and I got married, we had a decent-sized wedding, around 100 plus people that we paid for ourselves. Because we were still fairly young and not making a ton of money, I tried to save where I could. I hired local people and friends to do many things at a discounted price, and because I worked at a 4-star restaurant/banquet facility, I was able to talk them into doing the wedding reception for a cost as long as I provided A, B, and C. Basically, we had an amazing wedding for a very low price, however, it was still a fairly large amount per person, somewhere between $17 to $20 per plate. And by the way, $17 to $20 per plate on a wedding does not seem too bad. But anyway, not too bad but not cheap. Anyways, the invites go out and after a bit the RSVP cards start to pour in, and like I said, we ended up with over 100 plus people, maybe almost 130, that would be attending. My aunt was one of those people. She RSVP'd for her husband and their son, my cousin. So the wedding day comes, we get married, reception time, and my aunt and family is a no-show. I notice because I only have 2. I am of course irritated but more worried something might have happened. However, the following Monday, I get a card in the mail from them with a check for $10. No apology, just signed with a small congrats statement, nothing personal. I was so disappointed, so I call her mother, my grandma, and I tell her what happened. She instantly says, "That doesn't even cover the cost of the meals she wasted when she didn't show up. What a cheapskate." It had not even crossed my mind at the time. Then she says the best thing ever, "You know, your aunt is super OCD about her checkbook. Don't cash that check, it will drive her mad." I did not, and it did. It also drove my narcissistic mother crazy because she got all the calls asking when I was gonna cash the check. Guess she was too embarrassed by then to call me. A win-win. The best part of it all is I kept the check and left it inside the card. I have a habit of keeping all my cards, and every once in a while I will pull that card out and look at that check, and it always makes me feel like the pettiest woman alive. And the next one is titled Rent-Paying Drama. So this happened about 8.5 years ago, and I get reminded of it from time to time. I was on the government waiting list for a house/flat for over 8 years when I got a call asking me to go to a viewing. I went to see the flat. It had a small bedroom, a tiny bathroom and sitting room and a kitchen. It was not much, but it had central heating. My old place was one room with high ceilings and no heating, and I took 2 seconds to think about it and signed the lease. A week later I got my keys and started moving a few things in. My friend, entitled Witch, EB for short, who I would stay with sometimes on the weekend, wanted to come by to see the place before I moved everything in. She lived up the street from me now, so I told her to come and take a look. She then walked in and started telling me how I was gonna repaint and decorate. What the hell? And it continued on like this. EB, so the bedroom is gonna be completely Hello Kitty themed. Me, no, I like the color it is now. EB, and we will have Victorian wallpapers in the bathroom. Me, no effing way is that happening. What kind of loony puts wallpaper in a room that's gonna be filled with steam daily? EB, you'll also need to change your bed covers every Friday by 5 PM and you cannot use your bed until Sunday night and Monday morning, depending on when we leave. Me, what the hell look on my face. What? Did I miss something? EB, well, you know how much I hate my housemate. He is a good friend of mine. Well, my boyfriend and I hate seeing him, so we are gonna take your place from Friday until Sunday. And you can sleep at my place on the sofa. We need somewhere nice and private to have intercourse without my asshole housemate. You have slept on the sofa before, it will be fine. She gives me a huge grin and followed it with, or we could just move in here and pay your rent and you can sleep on my sofa and pay my rent. Hers was not a government flat and she paid at least 10 times more rent for her place. I put up with her ranting about how she was gonna properly decorate for a couple of minutes, and she was sure to tell me not to move anything else in until she could inspect it and see if it was on her approval list before it came into the flat. Needless to say, I kicked her out and blocked her number on social media, etc. She spent a while bad-mouthing me, but thankfully enough people knew how crazy she was and probably still is. By the way, I am completely blown away by the response here. I never expected this on my second post ever. I just wanted to add, when I stayed here on weekends, it was because we were partying. I had my own place across the city, I was not homeless. This person was an entitled Karen who felt entitled to my life, her housemates' lives and everything we own. We don't know how she got this way, but we noticed it got worse after her breakup 10 years ago. Her current boyfriend seems to have pushed her over the edge and into lake entitlement. And the next one is titled Penny Revenge. Seriously, 4 years ago I am cashiering at a wacky mart on a register that holds all the smokes and alcohol. It is 10 PM and these two young men, early 20s, come up to the counter. They have 3 random novelty items. I don't remember what they were, but it was strange and unusual to get odd items this late at night. Maybe it was for some fraternity, I don't know. It's a college town, so I get weird stuff from fraternities a lot. I scan the items and tell them their total is $22 and a few cents. Grinning at each other, they reach into their jackets and slam down 2-gallon Ziploc bags full of only pennies. I stare them in the eye, but they did not even look back at me. Everyone else in the line groaned and went to other registers. These 2 kids knew what they were doing, but they didn't know what they were in for because I was prepared for this. I knew this was going to inevitably happen. I grinned with them because I was gonna get paid during this. These pranksters are here for recreation. This convo occurs between me, ringleader, the other guy was silent and awkward, and a friendly coworker of mine. Me, is this $22 and a few cents? Ringleader. Me, did you count it? Ringleader. Nope. Me, are you going to? Nope. Is it at least $22 and a few cents? Don't know. Nice. Coworker, hey, you guys can use the self-checkout. It can take all of your coins at once. Oh, don't worry about it, coworker. Ringleader, nope, don't trust them, lady. Partner laughs. Coworker, what? Why? Ringleader, doesn't count all your change, right? I have used them before. It really works. Me to coworker, I got this. I unpacked the Ziplocs and threw all the pennies on the counter. It was a beautiful, massive crap storm of a mess. And I digged in it. I was Frank in a dumpster in It's Always Sunny. That is, by the way, a beautiful reference. The 2, still averting my gaze, start chuckling as if they were taking away my dignity. They whisper to each other, dude, oh god, dude, yeah, dude, hilarious. I counted each penny one by one. My coworker comes up to me. Coworker, guess I will help you count this. Me, don't worry about it. She looks at me confused, then she puts on her get down to business look. Coworker, I got your back. Me, oh, okay. We worked up a system where we counted 10, put them in a pile, then with 10 stacks of 10 pennies we separated them, making $1 piles. We made progress slowly but surely. Some customers came to the line, but we advised them to get to another line. Some of them looked at us confused, but when they saw the counter full of pennies, they understood. Some decided to wait, but when they realized it wasn't going to just take a few minutes, they took their leave. Another register in the liquor department opened, so it wasn't too bad for other customers. We get to about $12, about 10 minutes in, until I knocked over the piles. Coworker, OP. Me, oops, sorry. Coworker looks at my grin, I give her a wink and tilt my head, motioning her to leave. Coworker, you know what? I think I better let you do this. Me, ha, alright. Coworker leaves, I look at the 2 guys, they are absolutely stunned at the fallen piles of pennies. Me to ringleader, yeah, I'm going to have to count all of this again. Ringleader, okay. I started from 0, I count slower than ever and made my way back up. The duo is entirely silent. I get to about $7 when suddenly I say, me, drats, I lost count. I better start all over again. Ringleader, really? Me, oh yeah man. Why? Me, I lost count, sir. I could be in trouble if my register doesn't have the right amount of cash, and I don't want to rip you off. Ringleader, it is about an hour later, my manager walks past, looks at me, I smile at him and he looks at the counter. He walks away without a word. I eventually count all the change and surprisingly, they had only $18. Me, I think that this is $18. The duo has been dead silent, they look done for the night. Me, I will recount it. I effing recounted it. Me, I think this is actually $19 and a few cents. Without a word, the ringleader whips out a $5 bill. Me, seriously? You had cash? Ringleader, needed to get rid of my change. Me, no problem. I will just recount this again. I want to make perfectly sure that this is $19 since I counted 18 the first time. Ringleader, are you kidding me? I shake my head no, completely serious. He takes out a $20 bill straight out of his pocket and throws it at me. My coworker gives the biggest "what the hell" face. Internally, I die as well because they were smart enough to have a backup plan, and the fact that he was touching his cash in his pocket the entire time kinda messed with me. I take the cash, do the transaction, give him his change, thanked him and wished him a good night. The two start to put their pennies back in the Ziploc bags and I didn't help them at all. I watched them just as how they watched me. Lots of pennies dropped to the floor, but they didn't care to pick them up. It looked like their souls were sucked out of them. It was past midnight and I clocked out way past when I was supposed to. A lot of my coworkers gave me a thumbs up or told me good night. Even my manager told me good job. The only 2 words he ever said to me: went to bed at the dorms after such a great petty penny night and crashed. Strange to say, but I would love to count pennies again. And you know, Ripe Stars, for some reason this story reminded me of the video where Mr. Beast counts to 100,000, or was it 1 million? I think it was 100,000 on YouTube. And I'm pretty sure if you wanna have a viral video right now, you would probably just have to count a few thousand pennies on livestream and you might get a few million views. And guys, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, then either check out my binge watch playlist, which has thousands of hours of content, and if you still don't have enough, please don't forget to either check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube or subscribe to my membership program here on YouTube for exclusive videos that you won't find anywhere else. Thank you so much and I will see you again tomorrow.